Okay, we're recording. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see those of you who I see. Those of you who I don't see, I can imagine. So that's nice. So today I wanted to talk about self-sacrifice. I've been thinking about this for a variety of reasons. For those of you who are participating in the Manifestation Healing Circle, you may, if you've gotten to this part of it, you will know that the root of sacrifice is the same as sacred. You guys know I like words. But we misunderstand sacrifice, right? We don't think of, I mean, maybe we think of sacrifice properly, but most of us, I think, we think of sacrifice incorrectly. We think of sacrifice as, I'm going to give up something. I'm going to give up something. That's a sacrifice. Something that's important to me, I'm going to give it up. I'm going to lose something. And that, to me, misses the whole point, because a sacrifice is to make sacred. And I think that's the way that it's understood in many traditions, but we lose that, the significance of that. And so when we talk about self-sacrifice, a lot of us are self-sacrificing. We're good people, we're nice people. So we're self-sacrificing. We give up our own wants, sometimes our own, and not really needs, I guess. Well, maybe, I guess, to be determined. If we really give up our needs, eventually we won't exist any longer. But a lot of us are self-sacrificing in this sort of negating way. And then we glorify that. Look how self-sacrificing I am. Look how good of a person I am. But it really misses the point, which is to make the self sacred. And I was thinking, I meant to look this up before this, but I didn't, because I was thinking about the story of Odin in Norse mythology. And so I'm not going to get all the details correct, but from what I recall, Odin is the sort of the top god, head honcho. And but in the beginning, so in the very beginning, I guess we won't go all the way back to the very beginning. And I mean, in the very beginning, there was just this there was sort of what, there was like fire, and then there was icy mist, and out of them came this cow and a giant. And then later on down the line, these three gods came to be, and they were they were brothers, and Odin was one of the three, and they set about all of these tasks of creation and whatever they did. I don't really recall. That's the part I don't remember. And then Odin hung himself, I think he hung himself upside down on the world tree, if I recall correctly. Again, I'm fuzzy on the details. And he sacrificed himself to himself. Who knows exactly what that looks like? I don't know. But he sacrificed himself to himself, and from this he became very powerful. And his brothers actually kind of receded into the background then, and we don't hear of them anymore after that. And those who are more versed in Norse mythology will probably be shaking their heads and saying, no, that's not at all what happened. But that's my version. And so self-sacrifice. So I'm interested in this. What is self-sacrifice? What is authentic self-sacrifice? And my proposal is that authentic self-sacrifice is, well, it's it is to make the self sacred, and it is a glorious thing. So I'd like to explore that a little bit together. Perhaps we can all sacrifice ourselves. So to make the self sacred, and if you are on my email list, and you may have gotten an email from me yesterday in which I kind of touched on this a little bit, but there's this really, I think, in the kind of lurking in the dark, many of us have this, we actually have this secret hope that we're going to somehow get rid of the self. We view the self as the problem. Myself is the problem. If only this damn self wasn't here. It's always causing all these problems. So we want to sacrifice it. We want to get rid of it. But to me, that's an inversion. So maybe that's why Odin had to hang himself upside down. So maybe we could hang ourselves upside down, and then we could start to see correctly. So for a moment, let's just hang ourselves upside down right now. And how can we do that? So we could literally do that. Maybe that's valuable. I'm not going to do that right now. So since I'm not going to do that right now, I have to explore another way. This idea that I have of myself, what if I invert that? So I can look at all the ideas that I have of myself, can explore those. So let's take a look at those. What are some of these? And I'll open this up in just a moment so that we can, you can share your ideas of yourself, and we can explore those together and invert those. But I'll kick it off, and I'll share some to just kind of start this exploration. So start with one that I like to harp on. Okay, so I perceive myself as a separate thing existing in a hostile universe. So that's my sense of self. So then I can explore, I can invert this. But I have to actually like embody the inversion. It's not just a mental thing. I have to really feel into it. So how do I do that? Well, first of all, I can really just feel what it is that I'm talking about. If I have a sense of myself that I think is, I'm this separate thing here and I exist in this hostile universe. Or maybe you don't think it's a hostile universe. Maybe you think it's a neutral universe. Maybe you even think it's a nice universe, but it just doesn't always treat you nicely. However you perceive yourself. But there's a sense of, so I can just feel into that. What is that? What is that? What is that experience? And so I think, so this is my thought about it. My thought about it is, well, I have this body here and I got all these organs inside of it. And if those organs spill out, I'm dead. So I gotta keep this the inside inside and make sure the outside doesn't get inside, because if the outside gets inside, I'm screwed. So just feel now, whatever your version of that is. It doesn't have to be my version, but just whatever your version is, just feel that. Feel what it feels like. And then notice, well, then we can just invert that. So we can invert that like so this feeling, I think this feeling means that I've got this inside on the inside and the outside on the outside, and I got to keep them separate because it's not safe for them to mix. But just for shits and giggles, let's flip it. Let's just explore. Let's just see what happens. Now you might think I'm crazy. I'm a little crazy. But just give it a shot. Just see what happens. Don't try to get it right, but just play. Just see what happens if you flip it. Whatever that means for you, just play with it. So it could mean a lot of things. What if the outside is inside and the inside is outside? And then flip it back. Inside, inside, outside, outside. And then flip it again. Outside, inside, inside, outside. And then maybe what's interesting about this, and you might totally disagree, and that's fine, but what might be interesting, and you can check it out. So if we are so focused, as we often are, on the what on the inside being inside and the outside being outside, or the inside being outside and the outside being inside, either way, what we overlook is this assumption. It's right there, right in the middle, that there's something between the inside and the outside. There's something that separates the inside and the outside. That there's actually an inside and an outside. That there's an inside inside, or an inside outside, or an outside outside, or an outside inside. Either way. So through this inversion, now what's revealed is, wait a second, hold on. What is that? What is that that's between the inside and the outside? And my proposal is that what that is the false idea of self. It's just all these ideas. So there's a felt sense. It's just a felt sense, whatever. I mean, we don't have to even give language to it. There's just a felt sense presently. And then there's a story that goes with that says, I know what this felt sense means. This felt sense means me. And there's an inside inside and an outside outside. And then this crazy guy on the video screen says, wait a second, flip that around. Outside, inside, inside, outside. And you try that out, and sure enough, although you can't quite understand it or really wrap your head around it, something, oh, you're like, oh, yeah, maybe I can kind of do that. And flip it back. Okay, yeah, I can do that. Flip it again. Okay. But then we can take a look. If we can do this, then what on earth are we really talking about? So there's just this idea of something that separates the inside and the outside. And that's me. I'm what separates the inside and the outside. But then take a look as we're inverting it. What is that? Is that really you? Is that really me? So I'm looking at the screen here and I see these faces. Yes, nice. You're looking at the screen and you're seeing faces. And there are these thoughts that say, that's outside, this is inside. Or that's inside, this is outside. And that's all just to reinforce, it reinforces. So there's a felt sense, gives substance, a sense of substance to the thoughts. Because without the felt sense, then the thoughts would just be noise. Who would care? But with the felt sense, then these thoughts seem to have substance. It says, oh yeah, that's true. I'm here. I've got an inside. How do I know? Well, because I feel it. And then round and round it goes. Oh yeah, I feel it. Therefore I have this, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. It just keeps spinning round and round and round. It's like a spinner on your computer or on your phone. It's loading. We're just waiting for it to load. We're all waiting while it's spinning, wondering when we're going to arrive. And I'm saying, let's sacrifice ourselves. Let's make it sacred, make ourselves sacred. So what is the nature of the sacred? We can explore that too. What is the nature of the sacred? So is the sacred bound by a particular form? Is it bound by a particular idea? Is it bound by a particular thought? I mean, we kind of have a vague sense that there is something that is sacred, but what is that exactly? We have to kind of get clear on that. And I can propose to you that it's inclusive. It's like it's like water. You can't get it. You can't, you say, we talk about some body of water, talk about a river or a lake or a pond or a sea or an ocean. But we know that that's not, it's not quite it. It's just an idea. So to make the self sacred, to self-sacrifice, my experience is, in a sense, just to surrender to that flow, to surrender to that which is already sacred. And to recognize that that is, in fact, in my actual experience, that is what is already who I am. It is already what is the self. Like the ocean is already water. Josh, I can see you're raring to go. What you got?
There's a lot here. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. First of all, I just want to say, hey, Joey, I'm glad to make contact with you here in the cyber ether because we haven't had contact directly before, and I've been meaning to make contact with you, so I'm glad to do it. I love words too. That's my, I'm going to use the word outer work here in the worldly world. I wanted for I sort of I don't want to make any complication, but what's the other, sacrifice? Okay, so I hear this the root in there that points to sacred. What's the vice part? Is that like what's the?
I don't know.
See, because my preliminary understanding of the word sacrifice, I mean, I absolutely I don't mean to divert from make holy, but to me there's a sense of offering up in there, and there's something going on. I don't know if I'm answering your question now, because you got me going in so many different directions with what you've said. The habit of perceiving myself as small and separate from the world, I mean, I definitely get sensations from my body. I believe, I provisionally believe in the existence of the body. But it's, I have sensations that I, think of as my hand. I can feel my hand. I hear stuff and it's over there, and I think of that as not me, whereas I think of the hands as me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not at all clear to me that all of that isn't just sensation and perception, and
Well,
it's
it is
all, yeah. But it's
clearly.
all happening outside of the perceiver, or it's all happened. I don't even know if it's outside, but it's not. I mean, whether I feel something somewhere that I, through long habit, I'm used to thinking of as inside, and other stuff. Like there's a way in which I sort of feel like there's a really, really long practiced habitual management of sensation and perception that has been taught to us by our parents and their parents, that leads to this idea of me and not me,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm not at all sure that it's right to believe in. And I feel like I've lost the thread where you were going, and I didn't mean to do
It's
that.
functional. It's functional
Yeah, I mean, it's perfectly
to an extent.
okay. Oh, sorry.
To an extent, I just tacked that on. It's functional to an extent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's, there's sort of simultaneously it's like if you're riding a motorcycle, you want to do what you can to not slide 50 yards on the highway,
Yeah.
no matter, even if the whole experience, including the truck, is also you. Like it's still,
Yeah.
like, I don't want to, like that kind of super intense pain is something that I'm going to try to avoid. And I
Mm-hmm.
expect that I would experience that. And I don't want to do that. That being said, and I hope, please forgive me, because you got me all cooking right away. But I feel like I diverted from where you were leading us to go, and I don't want to do that. I just wanted to make
Well,
contact with
this
you.
is great because see you are you're raising important points. Okay, so one is where I'm leading. I'm not leading anywhere.
Okay.
I
You
mean,
sort of started.
well, true. Yeah. I mean, yeah, right. I mean, I'm the organizer,
Yeah.
so that's my role. But
Okay.
it's an important point, which is that um there's I am aware and and to an extent, let's say, I mean, ultimately, completely, but whether or not I perceive that on a moment to moment basis is another thing, but ultimately always completely surrendered to that flow of the sacred. So who's directing this? It's not.
Well, that, I mean, I was speaking provisionally,
Yeah.
after all. There is, you know, this is happening. Yes.
Mhm.
I just, I mean, a couple days ago, I don't remember how many days ago, you sent out a piece of writing about the practice of alchemy,
Mhm.
I think. And I'm just at the place where it's like, oh, you know, you were talking about saying, yeah, you know, what do we say no to? What do we say yes to? And these aspects of experience that we try to avoid as opposed to saying yes to.
Mhm.
And, you know, I mean, if I were on a motorcycle and I slid underneath that truck, that would be what was happening at that moment. And those are all labels for something. And there would be a very, very intense, you know, you might describe a burning sensation, or, you know, something,
Or
you know,
not. Who knows?
or not. And already that's a label, you know, that's true. But there's the idea of sort of saying yes to everything, you know, an unmitigated yes to every part of experience, is, you know, has been a tall order. I mean, I've been alive for a while now, and I only recently came across the idea of like actually trying to say yes to everything without exception.
Well,
um,
yeah,
and
but
that's a little bit like the sacrifice. I mean, that's sort of like that's the offering up of
yeah.
every.
Well, the difference is,
Uh-huh.
okay, so yeah, I think it's an important distinction. So I'm glad you're bringing this up because it's such an important distinction, is that if I have now um, given myself a new order because I read it or I heard it or it came to me that, hey, if I just said yes to everything, that would be better. Okay. So
Untried, at least.
yeah. So then, right. So, and you know, I do that too. I have this idea, some idea, and I think, yeah, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that. And then, like you said, that's beyond me. Right? In fact, I'm defined by not that. I'm defined by no.
Well, I in the sense of, well, there are several levels of I.
Yeah, but I'm in the sense that the one who has that, who says that's a great idea, love that idea,
Uh-huh.
because the only reason that I like that idea is because I think it's going to give me something.
Sure. Okay.
So the one who likes that idea, who says, yeah, I'm going to do that, I'm going to execute on that one, that's just a great, then instantaneously is stymied by it. Wait a second, hold on. Now, it sounded like a great idea, but I don't know. I don't know if I can actually say, I'll stop. What if I just start tomorrow?
Well, it's quite something. But you also, I mean, you have to admit something's happening all the time.
But that's my point. Is
Oh,
so when we see this, and we see that the this is always going on. That
this
there's
is.
well, this is this and this uh, grasping is always going on. So
Oh,
ooh, I
well.
want. Oh yeah,
Oh, I love that idea. Oh, oh, okay. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, good, good, good,
But
good.
when you see this, then you're given this tremendous gift, which is to recognize that that's not possible for you. So
What's not?
to say yes to everything because you're
Oh,
defined by no.
well, I mean, one part of me is this. I mean,
Yeah, but that's what I'm
I,
saying. That's the part that wants to say yes. The part that thinks it's a great idea to say yes to everything is the part that's defined by no.
Oh, that's interesting. And the part of you that's not busy making any decisions about anything.
It's
I mean,
already, it's just yes.
it is already yes.
Yeah. So what is the self-sacrifice then?
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, so like if in the biblical sense, if we're going to make a sacrifice of a lamb,
The red heifer.
yeah, and then it's going to be a burnt offering, right?
Holocaust.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
okay, that's an interesting image, but
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 that's the word. That's what the word means.
okay,
Holocaust means burnt offering.
okay, interesting. Did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
um, yes, so it's a burnt offering, and this is in all kinds of traditions, make burnt offerings, right?
Mm.
Because it's powerful to it's a powerful symbolic gesture that uh, there's the external expression of it,
Mhm.
and when we allow that to reflect to us the internal experience of that, then we discover that it's not two separate things. So it's just reflecting to us this that that it is already the case, that it's already gone. It's already cannot be grasped. It already is it's already the case, right? So
You know what? I'm not quite following you. I yearn to.
okay, well, so I mean, look, I mean, you've seen a flame,
Sure.
so you can remember that or imagine that now, and in as you're imagining it, can you imagine grasping the flame?
I mean, I can imagine trying to grab it and burning myself and
Right,
never succeeding in grabbing anything.
right, yeah, and then you could you could and the fuel that generates that flame, whether it's wax or wood or whatever,
E or ego.
of course. Well, of course, that's the point. See, we think that we we that is my point actually,
Yes.
is that it's all fuel, and we can allow it to all be an offering.
Well, okay. And that's on some level, it's sort of like, I mean, so let me ask you. I mean, there's a way in which there's an aspect. I have the great good fortune to be a parent, and so I've watched two little girls sort of arrive, first of all, arrive as, absolutely fresh newborns, and then get a little bit older and a little bit older and a little bit older. And one of the things that I've watched happen to my great interest is that there's this idea of self that happens, and it coincides with learning to say no. No, I don't want that. I don't want that. And
Mhm.
before that no happens, that sort of like that, there isn't really, that's like the beginning of earthly individuation as far as I can tell. And what I feel like the sacrifices is sort of like, to the extent that there's an aspect of myself that says, why must I drink of this cup? And hasn't yet said, not my will, but thy will be done.
Mhm.
Like to accept the crucifixion of my daily life, to put it one way.
Mhm.
Like I don't always accept it.
Mhm.
But and it's not that I want to slide my motorcycle underneath a truck. I don't. But sometimes I already have,
Mhm.
and then to say no to it once it already
Yeah,
is a recipe for misery.
right. Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's it.
um, So, but I don't always say yeah. I mean, but trying to, simultaneously living on the earth in a really graceful way. Like I sort of feel like I'm not as, I'm still trying to. I have this idea that I would like to say yes better or
Hmm.
something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just that to say yes uh, requires time and distance.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, doesn't it? I mean, just look in your experience.
To say requires time and distance.
Hmm.
Preliminarily, I sort of want to say it takes noticing that I'm saying no.
Well, yeah, and that requires time and distance.
Yeah, I guess that's so. Yeah.
So what I'm proposing is that the real sacrifice is not going to be found in that way. It's not even a yes, because there's not even the time or space for a yes.
So what is what is the making holy that you're suggesting? I'm still not quite clear.
Well, let's just look. Let's explore it.
What a treat. Pardon me.
Well, so this fundamentally, anyone who's going to say yes is saying yes to something. So that's why I'm saying there's time and distance involved.
Hmm.
Because if
Time
there's
and space.
in space, yeah. I mean, if I have to have the distance from it to be able to assess what it is, judge what it is from this vantage point,
Okay.
and then evaluate, am I willing to say yes? And what I'm proposing is it's just totally reckless, actually. It's just completely reckless.
Your proposal is a reckless proposal, or
Yeah,
you're
it's
proposing
completely
recklessness?
reckless because it's it's uh it's completely immersive. So there's no uh
Judgment.
is there no judgment? I mean, yes, I would say that that's true. Only reason I wouldn't have said that is because then I know where that leads.
I don't.
And say, oh, no, I should have no judgment. And then they're going to judge themselves for having judgment.
I don't know. You have some things are. It appears to me that you have some understandings that are connected that I didn't jump to where you went to right then. You're like, well, I know where that goes. I was like, I don't know where that goes, um, but but I'm interested, very interested. But I don't know what that means.
Yeah, so I mean, so just check it out. That's what I'm saying right now.
Okay, I don't know
Well, so what if you just give up? I mean,
how.
just give up on getting it right, having
Oh,
you want you because all of this attempt to, okay, I want to have no
use your
judgment.
judgment.
I'm going to say
Got it.
yes to everything, all of these
Well,
things. I'm going to have a better, more graceful worldly existence. All these things, which are, I mean, fine, but it's just that you can see that you never arrive.
okay. Or you live every day. You might put it that way. It may be, I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I don't know. I'm just saying, have you arrived? Because
Well, I mean, arrived at what?
well, you're
Um,
wanting to arrive at something, right? I mean, the idea is that if I could succeed in saying yes to everything,
ah, Well, I'm only dealing with, I still, I mean, right now, I sort of deal, like I have one way of my experience on Earth is that I simultaneously recognize that time is, you know, doesn't really exist outside of thought, and at the same time, I wear a watch.
Hmm.
So,
Or I set an alarm so that I can make
yeah,
this.
exactly. So there's a way in which, at the beginning of this whole process for me, I thought I was going to give up Western clothing and smear my body with ashes and move to a cave in India.
Hmm.
It turns out that I put on pants and I take a shower in the morning and I go to a job and I have two daughters.
Hmm.
There's sort of several levels on which and I'm still walking in the direction that I thought I was going to walk in.
Hmm.
I'm just doing it here, and it's sort of like I'm simultaneously, I suppose, trying to learn to say yes as fully as I can
Hmm.
to what is. And at the same time, when I drive a car, I try to stay in the lane. And when
Yeah.
I'm taking care of my daughters, I don't say like, hey, why don't you dive into that empty pool with no water? Because whatever,
Hmm.
like it's not whatever. I care a lot. And at the same
Hmm.
time, I don't have control of everything.
Yeah. Well,
So,
that's right. Yeah. And that's the thing is that, so this, this idea that you have, if you're gonna, however you said it, you're gonna give up Western clothes and smear your body with ashes and go live in a cave.
uh,
That's the idea that a lot of us have had.
not
And
that many, but a few.
enough of us, some variation of it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not exactly that, but we think something, we're gonna somehow.
I feel quite happy speaking with you, Joey. It's really a nice thing. Thank you so much. Sorry.
No, it's okay. But the thing is, as you say, that's not authentic for us. We live these lives.
Well, that had to be determined. It wasn't clear. Like,
Right, right. So for us, and I give a lot of consideration to this. So for us, uh, you know, we have a different path. It's not the path of the renunciate, because that's not our path. That's not our lives.
no,
So
householder.
right. So then if we so we we've been called to this. So we've been chosen. We didn't choose. And so then, to me, coming back to the
Ah,
self-sacrifice is, so it's like, okay, so this idea I have for myself, this idea of what I think I have to do and what I think
mm,
it's supposed to look like and how I'm going to achieve it, always a struggle. Sometimes it feels like a struggle, sometimes it doesn't feel like a struggle,
mhm.
but really always a struggle.
Hmm.
So then the self-sacrifice in this case, I would say, is lighten the load.
Drop the struggle
Yeah.
and just say
Accept that.
yes to this.
Well, or just, so it's like, the baby who's fussing in her mother's arms.
Mm, mm,
Okay. Wants Actually wants to be in her mother's arms, needs to be in her mother's arms, nowhere else for her to be, but just, ugh.
and that's us.
Yeah. So we're already held. We've already been chosen. And we are just insisting, no, it's got to be some other way.
Well, but there's, Of course I hear you, and yet there is such thing as growth, I think. There is such thing as directionality. Like there's a
course.
progress has happened, and there's a way in which maybe it's possible to have a new perspective on. I mean, that struggle that you pointed to can be held in different perspectives, and I like very much the image of the baby fussing in its mother's arms, but held the whole time. And it may be that, we are fussing just the same way, and dropping the fuss. I mean, there's a I mean, I experience I mean, I'm not, constantly in darkest despair at the fact of what appears to be my less than perfect enlightenment.
Hmm.
I do nonetheless, I do, sometimes make contact with people who give me the feeling that they are, that they are living at a greater level of peace, or, in direct contact with the source of wisdom in a way that I understand. It looks to me to be true.
Hmm. Yeah.
And to the extent that I can, I mean, maybe it's as simple as just dropping that I care about that. but I do care, and I do, I hope very much to be, a light and a blessing to myself, and then my family, and then maybe even one day larger and larger circles of people, to the extent possible.
Hmm.
And I do care about that, and I don't want to not care
You're
about
going to
that.
do that,
What?
but you can't do that. That's the thing, is that
But I
it's like
can't force that to happen.
there's, well, no, you can't force it and you can't do it. I mean, it's uh inevitable in a sense.
What is?
Well, so you talked about directionality,
Uh-huh.
growth,
Hmm.
and so the you can't. Is it true? So let's say that I'm looking out the window at an oak tree. Okay,
Hmm.
so the does the acorn, what's the acorn gonna, acorn gonna get all upset? Oh, it's, I'm not like that oak.
No, no, of course not.
And then it's got to rush things. How am I going to speed this up? Why am I not like an oak yet?
That's fair.
So is it true that there's a difference between an acorn and the 50-year-old oak, or the 100-year-old oak? Yeah, of course. But is there a way to?
Rush the growth of the oak? No,
Right? No.
no, there's
So,
not.
but what there is we can certainly make it unpleasant.
Make what unpleasant? The growth process?
Yeah.
Well, and I think doing so less and less is part of what happens in the growth process.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
you know,
but also part of the growth process. I mean, I don't know how old your daughters are now, but it's, like, I'm
10 and
sure.
7.
What's that?
10 and 7.
Okay, there you go. So I'm sure but for me, with my
Yeah.
kids, there's many times when I have a thought. You're doing it the hard way. There's an easier way, and I sometimes I try. I'll try in various ways to share with them insights like, hey, have you ever considered? And they don't want to hear it.
They may not want it. They may not be ready to hear
Right.
that. Yeah, it's true. It's true. No, I mean, you couldn't be a teenager unless you were a teenager, because it's like, wow, that's it's sort of just it's how it has to go. Like there's like, and I mean, I have been, let me throw in another idea that I sort of have wondered about. It seems to me that most usually the growth process that you're pointing to is what goes on. Occasionally, there seem to be I have sort of two favorite teachers in the world at the moment. One is a guy who clearly began studying early in his life and took one step after another every day for many decades.
Yeah.
And is a magnificent teacher now and at a great, wonderful level of clarity.
Yeah.
His name is Rupert Spira.
Mhm.
There's another fellow named Eckhart Tolle, who I imagine you know of, who he's one example of a couple that I know of who are people who seem to have sort of spontaneously incinerated overnight, and then sort of reconstitute, and then like had to figure out who the hell they were, because the idea of self that had been there burned up, completely burned up, faster than they had any understanding of.
Right.
And that's a phenomenon that seems to exist. That doesn't seem to be what's going on in this particular case, this one. That's not what's going on, but it does seem to happen. And so something is burning, it seems like. Something burns up, and that thing, I mean, and so I just, that gets my attention. I wonder
what I'm suggesting today with this topic of self-sacrifice is that is it seemed how this doesn't make any sense.
Go for it.
Okay. But the two scenarios you just painted are not really separate from one another.
Okay.
And that it's only when we come back in and start trying to evaluate, am I the oak yet? That there seems to be any real difference. Because presently, right now, what's possible, and it's not just possible, it is what is the case, all we have to do is really just kind of tune into it, is that there is only this fire that's burning everything. I mean, that's everybody's experience. Just notice it right now.
Okay.
I mean, right now, everything is being sacrificed in this moment. Everything is a burnt offering in this moment. Everything, every thought, every feeling, every image, every memory, everything.
It's all going up.
Isn't it? I mean, isn't that your actual experience right now, presently?
Sure. Yes, of course it is.
So wait, but then before you say sure, and then you're going to leap right back into something.
I don't know what I'm going to do. Go ahead.
Just stay in the fire.
Okay.
And then you see that this whole idea of, I mean, any idea becomes irrelevant.
I have a harder time jumping into the pool directly after you, but I certainly see the pool you've jumped into. I mean, it's I sort of feel like you are there. You're sitting there with your body smeared with ashes and sitting in a cave, like that's where I feel like you're living there better than I am.
Well, no, no. I'm not living there. I mean, let's be clear about this. That is living us.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying. That's the self-sacrificing to itself.
Oh.
That's why I'm saying we've had it inverted, is that we believe I am going to
go become real.
Yeah.
And reality is okay.
And it's only that thing that's seeking to get to some place, to get to that future, that is missing out on what it is that's already here, living this, already a burnt offering. And you are aware of it. You're aware of all of it, right? I mean, you can notice it. You can notice all of it. You're aware, if you choose to, right now, you can be aware of this fire that's taking everything. You can also be aware, because you are aware sometimes when it's happening, of this seeking thing that's trying to get somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So then we see that this burnt offering is it's just a, I mean, if you want a quickening, which is what you seem to want, then what I'm saying is
That's where it is.
this is it, because it's taking everything and it takes the gross and transforms it into the subtle.
Or by burning it up.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if this is, I mean, what you got, I mean, those, okay. There's a question of like how one identifies, or how, like, I mean, because I'm busy most of the time identifying with this body, this name.
Well, you're not. That's the thing, is you're not actually. All that's happening is you have thoughts about that.
Okay.
Because you're not actually identified, are you? I mean, you just have thoughts that you believe.
Well, there's a way in which, I guess the way I would want to point to this is that there's a sort of, I mean, I want to use the trope of like where I am located, just following on what you said just now, like what's being lived and who is living it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, there's a way in which I feel like, you know, I've walked up to the edge of a room, and all there is inside it is the fire, and it's sort of like, you want to come in?
I like that image. Come on.
It's a little nervous making. It's a little nervous making, I have to confess, and that is the holding on to. I mean, you know, like that's it's very fun. That was, I mean, you know, that's. Oh, look at it. It's already 11 o'clock. Look at that. Pardon me. Look, I went right back to time and life, as it were. The publications, not the actual phenomenon of life. I don't know where, I mean, I don't know. That you cracked something open there just a little bit for me. Most of the time, the way that I am holding ideas about life, whoever I is, the way that ideas are moving around in here, I sort of feel like I have the idea that there's an aspect of me, this local temporal person. There's an inner, and that's not located, but an inner thing that it does not partake of time, does not partake of form, is not that, and that very element is, looking at your face right now, and somehow magically transmuting a bunch of unformed impulses into words using very subtly highly trained English language skills that I learned, often some memory, I can't remember, that apparently happened that I learned English, and I don't know. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, that's it. I mean, is that there's a,
But you just shifted perspective for me, and it's like, what is it that's living this formal?
Yeah.
What's living the goofball?
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Good. Nice inversion.
I'm gonna need a word with you.
Yeah, we'll come back next week.
Yeah. No, but I actually do. Separately from this, I have a very specific question and piece of advice that I want to seek from you that I don't want to I don't want to subject everybody else to. I needed
Sure.
2 minutes of your life and time.
Sure. Well, send me an email.
That's a deal. How do I do that?
joeylott@gmail.com.
That's a deal. Okay.
I mean, if you're on my email list, you can just hit reply also.
Okay. I will. I think I am. That was super fun. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Sure.
We'll see if anybody else has anything they want to say before it's lunchtime.
I feel like such a hog. Oh well, sorry.
That's how it goes. Nobody else jumped in, so. Oh,
Entschuldigung, Herr Peter.
I missed the message. Hold on, I'm gonna go over. What did it say? Oh, yeah.
Oh, he signed off already.
Yeah. No, he just said thank you.
Yeah. Great treat to meet you, Joey. I've been hoping to.
I didn't give you the formal warning. So now this is recorded and it will go on YouTube. So
Oh, fudge.
if you can let me know if that's a problem.
It's probably fine. I mean, it's you know, I'm down. I'm basically down. I'm just that's interesting though. That's interesting because then that goes to the imaginary inner and outer problem. You know, because I'm not fully out of the closet.
So that's what you think.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Things, you get these insights and you share them with somebody who's known you for a long time. I'm like, what are you talking about? I knew that forever.
Right. Well, they're only, I mean, in the process of this molting or melting or whatever it is that's been going on in this life that you mentioned being chosen for, you know, it really began, and it was, I mean, I was absolutely raised by dogmatic atheo Jews. I mean, it was absolutely not cool to believe in what the tradition actually contains in it if you go look. And you know, slowly coming out as, you know, a yes, you know, as saying yes, as opposed to saying no. Well, that, you know, it's happening by fits and starts, and it's actually funny because right now, just in this temporal earthly gig, you know, it's I'm not going to. At some point, I may, you know, I have a story of me like everybody else, and of course I yearn to tell it like everybody else, but I won't subject you to any of it now. But it's an interesting moment of it now because of that whole progress and how it went, and, you know, leaving the world 30 years ago and now being kind of weirdly back in it and meeting people from 30 years ago, and trying to be in the world even as, you know, that fire is the only thing that's actually happening. Except for that, also it's the world.
I get you. For
I
sure.
think you do. I think you do. I think you do.
Of course, because that's why I said you're not alone. You know, I had the image of similar thing, not necessarily smearing myself with ashes, but similar.
Yeah.
And the
It's
to
an
me,
Indian image.
but the good news is that that was already done. You know, that was already done. That's not what that's not what is it's not what we're called to do now.
That, what do you mean, the
Smearing ourselves with ashes and
oh
cave.
oh no, yeah, no, that's just that was my ego scaring me.
Well, Well, but
And then,
also I'm saying that was already done. I mean,
oh, I mean, okay, I got it better now.
I mean, however you understand it, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying it was already done. So it's not that we don't need to do it because it's already been done. That would just be to relive the
Do
past.
somebody else's thing. Yeah, no, that's okay. Yes, that's but again, you know, you're demonstrating a location, a location identification. You take a moment for station identification, and and that's it's appreciated. You know, and you see how in actual practice I'm busy still identifying as the droplet.
Yeah, yeah, but that's just going on. I mean, that's
Okay.
and I mean that's going on, and it's going on, and it's not for much longer. I mean, that's you can't keep that up much longer.
Well, that's so I just signed up to do access points.
Oh, did you? Okay,
Yes. Um, but then I found out you weren't teaching it anymore,
correct. Yeah.
and I became concerned.
Oh, okay. Well, you can send me an email.
I'll send you an email. Yeah, because it's interesting. I mean, I have my particular what seems to harmonize what I dig, to put it one way, is facility with language. Really find it helpful, tremendously helpful. Doesn't come first, it comes afterward. You know, and that's what I dig best and most helpfully about Rupert Spira, and Eckhart has been spectacular that way. There's a magnificent, you know, and that's, and I don't know, I just, I perceive that in you. I don't know that I perceive that. I mean, I have no doubt of the, I'm trying to figure out how to make this next choice.
Yeah.
And I don't have unlimited dollars to throw at my project here. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, send me an email.
I will do that. And I appreciate your saying so.
Good. All right. Well, nobody else is jumping in, so we will pause here, pick it up again next week.
It's not, you know, it happens, the universe is unrolled in such a way that I'm actually able to hide in a conference room at work and dial in at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. That's not normally, it's a, you know, the circumstances have agreed with this for me.
Well,
So
yeah. Look, I can't. I mean, there are no mistakes. Everything is exactly as it is,
that's, yes.
and all lines exactly as it does, and
Yes.
we can tell all kinds of stories about it.
And we will, or I will.
But, yeah, of course. But ultimately, it's just happening.
Yeah.
So, of course it is.
Since it is and has.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
And thank you, everybody, for showing up. I appreciate all of you. See you next time. Bye for now.
See you later.